Welcome to Fantasy Football Aces. It's your boy William Wolf in the building. I'm back. Let's go. Another edition of Thursday Night Football. Lego. Detroit Lions versus the Packers. We got a Amon-Ra St. Brown. We got a Jahmyr Gibbs. We got a Christian Watson return for the Packers and Aaron Jones return for the Packers. Are people streaming Jordan Love? What's going to happen? Let's close this door so this dog doesn't go crazy all single time. Break, you ain't going outside barking, okay? You stay inside. We're streaming. Okay? Yeah, so we're undefeated on the season on Thursday night picks. We got one push. The Minnesota Vikings backdoor pushed the Eagles pick that we had. That was looking really nice until the Miami Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings backdoored that. So you stay tuned here with me tonight. We'll get that pick, and I actually put that pick in myself, so I'm definitely putting my money where my mouth is per usual. Let's get right into it though, guys. I'm gonna get into the Diamond League, and you're more than welcome to pop on in with some start sits and ask me anything you'd like. I'm going to go over these different matchups in the Diamond. They're going to answer some of your questions as far as start sits are concerned, because I'm going to critique other people's teams and what they're doing with their start sits. So let's jump right into that. The Podmon in the Diamond. We got Fantasy Football Aces at 3-0. We got a good point total. We're third or fourth in points, really close there. So we're in good position right now. We can afford to even take an L here anytime soon. So that's good. We have 4 RB1s right now. We have Tony Pollard. We have Raheem Mostert. We have James Cook, and we have DeAndre Swift, all borderline RB1s. I know Swift is just outside, but he didn't play week 1. So I think that you can kind of count him as an RB1 right now. Getting a lot of phone calls. Some odd reason as I started this, but I'm in really good position in the Diamond, guys. We'll start that off with that matchup. We're playing the Physics Dream Team. He is a perennial loser in the Diamond, but I would say the last couple of years he has. Hey, you lay down. We're not going to do this the whole time, and he has put together a couple good teams back-to-back years now. He obviously went and drafted Pat Mahomes this year. And when you draft the Drip King, who I call him the Drip King, when you draft him, I think that automatically puts you in the playoffs. I think once you draft Pat Mahomes, you essentially, unless you really mess up your draft outside of that and you don't get any free agent pickups, you're going to be a playoff team, because that consistent quarterback play, and when I say consistent quarterback play, I don't even mean, just regular consistency. I mean like consistent, good quarterback play. It carries your team. He's going to have some 35 burgers. He's going to have a lot of good 25-point games. I feel a little blessed that he's playing the Jets on the road, which is one of the better defenses in the NFL. But at the same time, I get him on prime time. He's going to be at 8:20. And those are the times that Pat Mahomes sticks it to you. I could be up by 30-something in that going into that week, going into that matchup, and then Pat Mahomes just sticks it to me. So that's always frustrating, and I think that there's definitely a possibility of that happening. So, you pay much respect to the Pat Mahomes and Drip King anytime you're facing him, and you're nervous about the matchup. He's got A.J. Brown paired with him. I got DeAndre Swift. So in that game, I'm going to need more running than passing, which I think is probably possible. A.J. Brown had a good game last week. He still hasn't caught a touchdown, though, so you would think he's probably do or not do, but like gonna zigzag and have a bad game possibly this week. But you're also could make a case that he's due for a touchdown right now. He's got Michael Pittman Jr., who's the only wide receiver in all of football that's had 8 receptions or more in all 3 games. Hard to believe Puka couldn't pull that off this past week, but he didn't. And then he made a really good splash in free agency this past week, and he went after Palmer. He spent 50% of his fab. He needed a little receiver help, and now he's got that. LA Chargers are one of the best offenses in the NFL, and he's got Palmer as his third guy now, which is solid. Now, where he has a few decisions to make is he has Derrick Henry, Zach Moss, Javonte Williams. He has Kamara coming back from suspension, and he has Miles Sanders. So he's got 4 backs, and at face value, you're never taking Derrick Henry out of your lineup. But the way he's performed this year and just how dreadful the Tennessee offense has looked, you're looking at 4 running backs, 5 running backs that are about the same. You got Miles Sanders, you got Kamara, you got Javonte Williams, Zach Moss, and Derrick Henry. So I think that all 5 of them are on the same level, which makes it extremely difficult to decide on which one to start. Now, for my money, you're never taking Derrick Henry out of your lineup. You spent a ton of capital on him, a first-round pick in Snake. You're not going to not start Derrick Henry. Zach Moss, he's been super hot. They're one more game away from, in theory, Jonathan Taylor possibly coming back. I know he says he doesn't want to play for the Colts, but there's no way you could take him out of your lineup with the way he's performed. And then it's coming down to a decision of you want to start Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, or Kamara coming back from suspension. Now, for me personally, I'd probably go with the decision that he made, which was Javonte Williams, simply because he's playing against the Bears. My concern would be is that Javonte hasn't had a good week all year so far. I mean, if he's going to get right, it's going to be against the Chicago Bears. But I think the Bears are weak against the pass more than the run. As far as I've seen so far, I think they actually play the run decently. They played the run well against Green Bay. Aaron Jones caught a screen pass to the house and then another deep into the house. I know those go towards running backs, which gives you the thought that, hey, running backs are doing well against Chicago, but they're really not. The Buccaneers running backs didn't do much. McKinnon for Kansas City caught 2 touchdowns, so that makes it seem like the running backs are balling out, but they're really not. Then you have Miles Sanders, who's a little banged up against Minnesota, and then you have Kamara. Now, Kamara against the Bucs, I'd be itching to play him, but you don't really know what's going to happen there in that situation. It was kind of like a wait and see approach with DeAndre Swift for me this past week, and I would say that's the same thing you want to do when you have Kamara and you have options. If you don't have options, then you're putting Kamara in your lineup. But if you have options, it's kind of a wait and see kind of thing. You want to see what they're going to do with that depth chart. I know Jamal Williams is out, but hypothetically, if he was in the lineup, it even gets even more dicey. So wait to see what they do with Miller and Jones and Kamara and see what the snap share is. I think it's a gamble if you play him. For me, in that situation, it would be Miles Sanders or Javonte Williams, and I think you could flip a coin there, and you're gonna either be right or wrong. It's not like there's the right answer for that. It's hard to say what I would do. I think on paper Javonte looks good, but I'm a volume guy. So if Miles Sanders is gonna play and he sticks with the snap percentage that he's getting against the Minnesota Vikings, he's probably the guy that you should start. But Kyle's gonna have to make that decision on his own. For me personally, I have a really tough decision myself. I have Tony Pollard, I have James Cook, if you're looking here, and I have DeAndre Swift, and I have Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert is the number 1 running back in all of fantasy football right now. He's red hot. Not only that, but he is a goal line runner. Now, I know Devon Achane got goal line run himself, but that isn't because he's the quote-unquote goal line running back. It's just simply based the fact that he was in the game and it was the scheme and the play that they ran for him. As a matter of fact, on one of those goal line carries for Devon, Raheem Mostert was in as a receiver and a I don't know why the word's not coming to me, but the motion man, and he was the guy that they were essentially faking it to before they gave it to Devon to run it in. The jet sweep guy, I should say. That's the word I was looking for. And so Raheem, it's hard to take him out of your lineup because I'm gonna give you my thought process. With James Cook, he's been really good, and you like his matchup this week against Miami, and you like that offense, but he's not the goal line guy. So the only way James Cook is going to actually score touchdowns if it's a long one, right? Tony Pollard, I'm never taking out of my lineup. He's the 3-down horse dog there and the goal line runner. He has a lot of touchdowns coming his way. I think he's actually due for a big ceiling game. I'm hoping it comes this week. As far as DeAndre Swift is concerned, I love what I see from him. He looks absolutely phenomenal. I think that when him and Gainwell run the ball, you can see a significant difference in the two. I think that Swift is gaining a lot more yards than expected compared to Gainwell. I think that Philadelphia sees this as well. I think that they realize that they have a true bell cow right here as long as they can keep him healthy. They have a guy who looks like one of the best running backs in the NFL with DeAndre Swift. He's got it all. He's got speed. He can move, vision, patience. He's even got a little bit of power behind his shoulders when running the ball. I think that DeAndre is a must start from here on out. Matchup proof. I don't think it matters. Your only concern is that Jalen Hurts gets all those 1-yard carries with the little, butt QB sneak that they like to do. That's very controversial right now. That's your concern. That's the same concern you have with James Cook. And that's the reason why you can make an argument for starting Raheem Mostert, because Raheem Mostert's going to get the goal line carries. So for me personally, for my money, as of now, I'm going to go with what you see here. The only thing I would possibly change is putting Raheem Mostert in for James Cook. And my reasoning for that would be that I believe that Mostert has a much, much better chance of scoring a touchdown. Therefore, he is the better option in this matchup, and they are playing head-to-head Miami versus hey, lay down. Miami versus the Bills are playing head-to-head, and they have the highest point total of the week. So, it should hypothetically be a high-scoring game according to Vegas. Now, with that thought process, you would think, hey, I should start Raheem and James Cook and probably sit DeAndre Swift. Yeah, I don't mind that thought process, but here's where I'm at with that. I think that Philadelphia is going to absolutely lock up Sam Howell. I think there's going to create a lot of turnovers. I think that they're going to get the ball with inside the 30 quite a bit. And I think that means DeAndre has a really big possibility of scoring a couple touchdowns this week. I just think that when you have a dynamic offense like that with the best offensive line in the NFL and you have a running back that looks that good, you're just not taking him out of your lineup, guys. And I know I really can't lose in this situation, but for me, I'm hoping that my hope in theory is that Raheem Mostert cools off a little bit this week, and Miami throws the ball a lot more against Buffalo. I think Buffalo's tough against the run. I think that Tua and company are going to be passing the ball quite a bit more than running in theory, and that's what I'm hoping for. So I'm going to go with the DeAndre Swift, James Cook, Pollard, and then let Raheem Mostert take a seat this week. But that doesn't mean he's going to take a seat next week. I'm going to play the matchups and, not be results-oriented and live with the results. I think Swift, Cook, and Pollard are the play this week, and Mostert takes a seat. Last week, I started Mostert over Swift, so I have the balls to go either way. I have the balls to take James Cook out as well. The only guy in this lineup that I'm not touching is Pollard ever. He's matchup-proof, and he's a 3-down horse dog, and I spent a lot of capital on him, and I believe in the talent in the offensive line, so there's no way I'll ever take Pollard out. My other big decision in this matchup is whether or not I'm going to keep DeAndre Hopkins in. I actually have Quentin Johnston, and Yahoo doesn't like him at 6.68, but I like him more than that, guys. I think he's going to come in right away and get 65% snaps, and I think And one of the best offenses in the NFL right now, and one of the best passing offenses in the NFL that's humming right now with Herbert. I think against Las Vegas, Quentin Johnston's going to have an opportunity to have a big game. I think he's actually a guy that you can fly in DraftKings for cheap. I think that he's possibly a better option for me than DeAndre Hopkins against the Bengals. It just seems like Tennessee can't do anything. I don't like the amount of targets that DeAndre is getting. If he was getting 13 targets like he did in week 1, week 2, and 3, then yeah, it'd be a no-brainer to keep him in his lineup because I'm a man of volume and I don't really give a fuck about the production. If you keep getting 13 targets, I'm going to keep you in my lineup. But he's only had 6 targets last week and less than that the week prior when he played only 50% of snaps. I know Quentin Johnston's a huge risk, but I think the rookie first-round pick, they get an opportunity to use their new little toy now against Las Vegas. I think they might give him some shots. And not only do they give him some shots, I think that they possibly, throw a couple screen passes to him, try to get him involved early, catch a couple passes, and get him hot. You would hope in theory that like Las Vegas focuses on stopping Keenan Allen, which gives Palmer and Quentin Johnston an opportunity to have a big game. I'm going against Palmer in Physics Dream Team. He has Palmer. So if I deploy Quentin Johnston right here in a head-to-head matchup, which I'll do for you right now. Let me see here. I don't know why it doesn't let you do it in the matchup, but let's do it right here. We'll move Quentin Johnston in there. Yahoo doesn't like it as much, but I don't not like it, I get Quentin Johnston versus Palmer head up. Let's see who's the guy right away against Las Vegas. I don't mind that. I like my other matchups. Puka should have a big game this coming week, so I'm excited for him. Let's see here. I got a message on here, so I'm gonna hop on YouTube real quick. Oops. All right. Let's see what we got here. PPR redraft. Should I trade DeAndre Swift, Gus Edwards, Drake London, Fred Warner for Travis Etienne and David Montgomery? No. Why in the world would you do that? I don't even understand why you're on that side of. I don't even understand why you're giving up so much in that trade. I'd rather have DeAndre Swift than Travis Etienne. I'm not even capping either. Like Travis Etienne, I know he's like the 70% snap share guy right now and 80% snap share guy, RB1 in Jacksonville. But Philadelphia has the best offensive line in the NFL. DeAndre Swift is second in the NFL in rushing. He didn't even play week 1. Gainwell doesn't look good. I know they tried to give him opportunity last week, and then in the fourth, they kind of left him in just simply based on the fact that the game was out of reach. So they were like, there was no reason to put DeAndre Swift back in the game. But DeAndre was operating at like 65%, almost 70% snap share last week in that game. And Gainwell looked like shit compared to DeAndre Swift. I don't think DeAndre is even tradable right now. And you're giving up way too much to get essentially David Montgomery. I mean, you're giving up because I like DeAndre over Travis Etienne, first of all. And then you're giving up Gus Edwards, Drake London, and Fred Warner for David Montgomery. I mean, I wouldn't do that. The Ravens have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, top 10. I think they're playing the Browns this week, so they're not going to do anything this week, but Gus Edwards is fine, man. I mean, him and David Montgomery, I'd rather have David Montgomery slightly, but not by much. Gibbs is lurking in that offense. Gus Edwards, in theory, should, get a lot of volume. I know you're in a PPR format, so that makes a difference, but I don't think that's the right move for you, man. I think that there's other moves out there for you. I know Drake London's not a guy that you're ever going to play because the Atlanta Falcons don't throw the ball. But I don't like that trade. I think there's other trades out there for you, possibly. I said this on Tuesday. I'm going to reiterate this now. You only make trades in two scenarios. One, you are desperate, or two, you are taking advantage of somebody else that is desperate. So I wouldn't make a trade right now, and I definitely wouldn't do that trade. You're not giving up DeAndre Swift. I'm actually ranting about him right now, so there's no way I'm giving him up. I like Travis Etienne a lot, though, by the way. I think that's a wash. You go flip a coin. I just don't see any point of doing that trade. I think I'd rather have Swift in the Eagles offense. I just would. One thing that's going to be a factor in this matchup, guys, is that I have Philadelphia Eagles against Washington at home. Washington is the worst team in the NFL for defenses this year, meaning the best team to face for defenses this year. And I have an immaculate defense at home. I have, Jordan Davis and company, Jalen Carter, that defensive line, which is one of the best in the NFL. They're going to dominate that game. I think Sam Howell has taken the most sacks in the NFL this year. He's on pace to beat Derek Carr's record. He's holding on to the ball too long, as is Justin Fields. And I think that Philadelphia can have an absolute monster game, which also is going to contribute to DeAndre Swift having a good game as well, guys. My decision here, if I show my bench, is whether or not I'm going to start Stafford against the Colts on the road or Fields at home against Denver. Now, I sat Justin Fields last week, and I'm not going to go into a ton of depth about my thought process here because I talked a lot about it on Tuesday, but the Denver Broncos are one of the worst teams in the NFL right now against all fantasy. I know that 70 burger Miami really dictates that a lot because it's only been 3 weeks. But this is at home. Justin played better against Green Bay for fantasy at home. He went to Kansas City, Arrowhead, one of the toughest places in the NFL to play and one of the best defenses in the NFL to play. Kansas City absolutely shut down Trevor Lawrence as well. So I think Justin, people are overreacting a little bit when it comes to fantasy football for him. They need to get back to some more design runs. I think they possibly will do that against the Denver Broncos. I think that Denver Broncos defense is so bad and they're breaking down so bad and just leaving people butt naked. You can see a deep touchdown from possibly Mooney or DJ Moore in this game. I'd expect Justin Fields to rush for at least 60 yards in this game and hopefully a touchdown. So I'm okay with starting Justin this week. I'm actually pretty optimistic about it. I feel better than most people. And I think I feel better than most people because I sat him last week against Kansas City. I knew that it was going to be ugly. Before the year started, before week 1, I would have said Justin Fields is a must start every single week. But obviously you got to pivot, and he's turned into a streamer. The fortunate part of that, him being a streamer, is that his next 5 weeks on the schedule look fantastic. We play Thursday on the road this coming week against this coming Thursday against Washington. We play Minnesota after that. We got Denver this week. We play Las Vegas the following week. The next 4 weeks are juicy for Justin Fields. I think that he's going to get really back into it. People are going to ride him again for as far as fantasy football is concerned. That's just my personal prediction. But that's a decision there. I have a decision between Quentin Johnston and DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet there. And then I told you I'm deciding between James Cook and Raheem Mostert for my other running backs. So we have some big decisions, but as of now, this is probably how I'm going to roll with it. I'm probably going to start Quentin Johnston over DeAndre Hopkins. I just think that there's a outside chance that Quentin Johnston has a huge game, and I don't think there's any chance DeAndre Hopkins has a huge game. I might get some volume from Hopkins. I might catch a touchdown, maybe, but there's definitely not going to be a big play from him. I think there's a big play possibility for Quentin Johnston. Quentin Johnston can catch a 60-yard touchdown. I don't think there's any chance that happens with Hopkins. until I start to see volume again from Hopkins, I don't really want any piece of that Tennessee offense. I'm just disgusted by it. It looks absolutely fucking dreadful. So that's where I'm at with that. I'd rather get a little piece of this offense and just pray that Quentin blows up. I mean, maybe I'm lucky and that's the start of a humongous year for the rookie. 14-man half PPR. I need to flex one. Jaden Reed, Josh Downs, Kenneth Gainwell. I want to start Reed, but I have Christian Watson back. Yeah, that's ugly, buddy. You're in a 14-man, so it makes a lot of sense. In a 14-man, I'd be comfortable starting Josh Downs. I don't like Josh Downs at all, personally. I think that with Richardson coming back, it's going to hurt him. I think Richardson, when Richardson's back, that offense is really going to be geared towards running the ball. They're going to be more of the Philadelphia scheme, because that's where their coach comes from, where they want to run the ball. They want to do a lot of read option and RPOs, and the main benefactor of that is Michael Pittman Jr. I don't think Richardson's going to be the guy that spreads the ball around. He's going to focus more on Michael Pittman, and they're going to pound you. They're going to run the ball well. They have a top 10 offensive line in the NFL. I think that hurts Downs because they're not going to do as many short passes. Gardner Minshew is one of those a different kind of quarterback. He's going to spread the wealth. But with that being said, in a 14-man league, I'm not starting Kenny Gainwell. You already said you have Christian Watson, so you're not going to double that up with Jaden Reed. So I think you're kind of forced to start Josh Downs, unfortunately. It's tough, man. 14-man leagues are deep, so it is you kind of have to play guys like that. He had 11 targets last week, so hopefully he could at least get 6 or 7, 8 targets this week, and maybe he'll get lucky and get a touchdown. I'm gonna pick me in this matchup though, guys. My reasoning is because my running backs are so strong. Tony Pollard, James Cook, DeAndre Swift, and then if I possibly even want to put Raheem Mostert in, who's the RB1 right now. I mean, with that to go along with what I said earlier, how I got a really brilliant matchup with the Eagles playing Washington this week at home. I think that's going to help me a ton. They'll have at least 4 sacks in that game. They'll most likely have a fumble. So you're talking about, if I don't even if I don't get a touchdown out of Philadelphia's defense, I'm probably going to score more than 10. So that's just a really big boost for me. I think that his running backs, they're very mediocre. I know Zach Moss has had some good games with volume, but I don't predict that like throughout the year. Zach Moss, there's no way. He's just not that talented of a guy. Derrick Henry's just been really bad this year. Cincinnati's going to play them well. I think, like I said, the Bears have been better against the run than they've been really good against the run, actually. They're terrible against the pass, but on paper, they seem like they're bad against running backs because running backs have caught the ball a lot. And that's something that people aren't going to realize unless you're focusing and watching the games like I am. If you're just looking at things from a box score perspective, I'll give you another good example. The Bears, in theory, they're going against Denver, who's like the worst in the NFL against quarterbacks, but they're not really that bad. It's just that one game against Miami, well, huge outlier, blew it up. So by like week 8, week 9, in other words, there'll probably be a true score of like how good or bad they are against quarterbacks or receivers or running backs. It's just it'll be tough for them to catch up against running backs because Ockney and Mostert scored 80 points against them, and they'll probably remain the worst team in the NFL against running backs for a long time because of that. But I realize that, and I still want to gamble on Justin Fields at home, guys. That's one of the main reasons why I want to gamble on him, because he's at home. And I think that he could play better at home this week. I think there's going to be a lot of boo birds in Chicago. But, Justin's going to be able to run, man. I know he's going to be able to run. I think it's a matter of time. It's probably going to happen this week where he breaks like a 60-yard touchdown run. So hoping for that. But with that being said, I think Javonte is going to continue to struggle. He's only getting like 10 carries a game. He's not really catching the ball. He's not fully healthy. So we'll see what he does with him, if he starts him or if he starts Miles Sanders. I think that his receivers are solid and Pat Mahomes is solid. But Pat Mahomes, I can't ask for much more than a road matchup against the Jets here, man. Look at all this green that he's got. He's got Detroit. He's got green, 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 green. Green as fuck. And then the 1 week I get to go against him on the road. He's going on the road against the Jets. So I feel very lucky about that. The one downside to it is that he is on prime time, and prime time Pat Mahomes likes to show out. So that sucks, but I can't be any more happy about him facing the Jets on the road. They have a great defense, guys. So that's good news for me, and hopefully they can contain him a little bit. I picked me in this matchup. In the next matchup, we have SEC versus I Am Nice. Gary, he's one of the nicest guys I know. I Am Nice. I Am Nice, man. He's going to stream Russell Wilson against the Bears. I actually like that play. I think Russell's going to have a big game for fantasy. St. Brown's playing tonight. I like him to have a big game. I like Amari Cooper. I think he'll do well. Baltimore secondary is banged up. Gabe Davis has been hot. That's a really high over-under, so you like gambling with Gabe Davis in that game. Ramondre Stevenson against Dallas. You think that he's going to possibly get it going here. Travis Kelce against the Jets. Tough matchup, but Travis Kelce's matchup proof. Tutu, good little flex he's playing. I hate Jared McKinnon, but he doesn't have any other choice really. His running backs are really shitty. On the other side of the ball, I think Debo is going to be out, which would be a huge loss for SEC. If Debo plays, guys, I'm going to probably roll with SEC in this matchup. I think that he finally has figured out his lineup here. He sat Breece Hall, which is smart. You got to keep Pacheco in the lineup. That's interesting. You got Pacheco versus McKinnon in this matchup against the Jets. A lot of Kansas City guys going against the Jets, and that's not going to be exactly fun. Gordert, he's probably due for a touchdown. Could be this game right here. Chris Godwin, I'd say the same thing. He's probably due for a better game here, which could be coming today or this weekend. Miami against Buffalo, that's not a good defense to be starting. And San Francisco against Arizona is a good defense to be starting. I think I like I Am Nice in this matchup, guys. If Debo plays, then I may switch Sunday. But they're saying that Montgomery's back tonight. I think I Am Nice he's got a really shitty second running back, but everything else is decent. And I like the Russell Wilson play against the Bears. I think that he's going to have a big game. So we're going to roll with I Am Nice in this matchup. In the third matchup, we have a really high-scoring projection from Yahoo. Yahoo loves these two teams. I think my team's better than both of them, but Yahoo doesn't agree. Yahoo likes these two teams a lot. They really love Justin Jefferson quite a bit. And they give guys like Kerryon Williams and Aaron Jones and Madison essentially very similar projections as guys like mine that are like DeAndre Swift and James Cook. I think Yahoo's off on that. I think they just haven't really caught up to how good Swift and James Cook are right now. So their projections should be at least 2 or 3 points higher than Madison or Aaron or Kerryon Williams, for example. So I think those are a little off. I also think that guys like Christian Kirk and Christian Watson are too high on for projections as far as fantasy Yahoo's concerned compared to like my guys, for example. So it's that's the way I view that. I think that's the reason why they have them ranked so. And you could say the same thing for Jared Jeudy, Michael Thomas, and obviously they have Christian McCaffrey at 21 points, which is incredible. So Najee Harris's projection is a little too high. They need to get that down to like 7 or 8 right now. His over-under is not 10.7 right now. I would take the under on that every single week and probably make a fortune. As far as like people that they can start over them, he has a Brian Robinson against Philly. That's a smart sit. It looks like, he's making the right decisions here on this side. We got Justin against Las Vegas. I think a big game's coming. That's the reason why I want to start Quentin Johnston. He's got Justin Jefferson against Carolina. That's going to be a good matchup for him. He's got Kirk in London. I think that's a good matchup for him. And Christian Watson, I think, is a really bad play today. I wouldn't start him. I would probably, but I see he doesn't have a lot of choices, so it is what it is. He has to play him. I don't think he's going to get a lot of snaps though. So Kyren Williams against Indianapolis, Aaron Jones tonight against the Lions. I think that in this matchup with Tua against Buffalo, I like Bishop Sycamore. I just think that his running backs are the difference. I think Tua and Herbert are a wash. They're both gonna have big games. Just the receivers as a core are definitely better on two elite side. He is the undefeated team, the number 1 ranked team right now, but I don't think he's going to get a lot of production from Christian Watson. So possibly Bishop can make up for it with some volume, maybe from Michael Thomas and Judy. Who knows? But Christian Watson and Bijan are probably going to have big games as they always do. And I think that the running backs in flex on this one's a tough one, but man, I hate Najee Harris, guys, but I hate Madison as well. So that's a wash there too. Pittsburgh against Houston, Dallas against New England. Yeah, I like Bishop just for a couple of different reasons, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want anything to change. I don't want people to change, and I need people to lose. So I like Bishop a little bit more as the matchups look in this week. In this matchup, Comeback Kid versus Korea. Korea lost Nick Chubb, and his team is still projected 121 points, and he scored a bunch of points this year so far. He's 3-0 going against an 0-3 Comeback Kid. That alone makes me pick him without even looking because it's just a mismatch. But let's dive into the matchup. He's chasing the points with Ockney. I don't think Ockney's going to have a big game against Buffalo. I think that Raheem Mostert's the number 1, and I think that they're going to be throwing a lot more against Buffalo than running. I think that you're going to see a very disappointing output from Ockney. Probably, I'd say he's going to get about 8 or 9 rushes for like 30, 40 yards, and then I'd say probably 2 or 3 catches for another 20, and it'll just be disappointing. Laporta, I think he's going to come back down to earth tonight. I think that Scary Terry against Philadelphia is horrible. But Keenan Allen will have probably a monster game. Yahoo loves him, so that's one of the reasons why he's ranked so high. Stephon Diggs, they love him, as they should. Mike Evans has been phenomenal this year, but he's going to go against Marcus Lattimore, so matchups aren't so great for him. And here, along with White against New Orleans, some really bad matchups for Korea this week. It could be let me maybe possibly change my pick here. We got Devontae. I think he's going to play. He's questionable. Zay against Cleveland. He's going to be going against Denzel Ward. Higgins, maybe a possible bounce back week against Tennessee. Joe Burrow against Tennessee paired up. I like that actually. This week, Josh Jacobs, Dameon Pierce, Kittle, and Myers. I actually am going to change my pick here. I think this is a coming down to earth week for Korea. Yahoo really loves him at 121. I'm taking an underdog here. Comeback Kid at 0-3. But I think that his team is Yahoo likes Ockney way too much, guys. He had one good week. I said on Tuesday, he's a guy that you're going to bid all your fab on. You want a piece of Miami's offense. You want every single piece that you can get. But he's coming off, a game that he broke some big long runs, had a couple nice plays, but Buffalo's defense ain't soft like that, man. Buffalo's going to play hard. They're going to play against the run. It's a division game. They played 3 times last year. I can't. He doesn't have a choice, so I'm not saying that he should start somebody else. I'm just saying that that's a tough matchup. He's going to come down to earth a little bit this week. And that doesn't mean that Devon's not going to be fucking phenomenal the rest of the year. I love Devon. I think, like I said, if you have any part of Miami's offense, you should be extremely happy. I have Raheem Mostert, and I'm sitting Raheem Mostert this week. But Keenan Allen's going to have to carry him in this matchup, and I think Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen are going to have a huge game for him to win. Outside of that, I just like this thing, especially if Debo doesn't play. George Kittle is going to benefit from that. Jacoby Myers has had a lot of volume this year. I don't see that changing. He's a sneaky little flex in this play. And I like his receivers. I said I've liked his receivers all year. Devontae, Zay Flowers, and Higgins. I like those three guys. I do. And he's the guy that he kind of matches up with Korea because Korea has those three great receivers right now. Mike Evans has caught a touchdown in every game. Guess what? Against Marshawn Lattimore, he's going to get locked up. He gets locked up every single time he plays Marshawn Lattimore. So you can X him out. You can X White out. White's going to be shit this week. Terry McLaurin, he's going to be shit this week. So, I mean, he had a good game last year against Philadelphia, though. They beat Philadelphia, if you don't remember. They were undefeated when they beat him. They gave him their first loss. But I think that's going to be an upset here for Comeback Kid. The Criminals. He's my enemy in this league. I hate his guts. Need one. Watson, Godwin, Hopkins, half-point PR. Need one. That's a tough one, brother. I take Watkins out of that conversation simply based on the fact that I don't think he's going to play a lot tonight. He'd be your obvious choice in this spot typically. I think or possibly Hopkins if Hopkins was getting more volume, which he's not right now. But I don't think Christian's going to play a ton of snaps tonight, so I would keep Christian Watson out of that. It's between Godwin and Hopkins. I think that you could flip a coin there, but I would roll with Hopkins because he's at home, and there's a chance that he gets a lot of volume. He is the number one receiver there. I think you can make an argument for Godwin based on the fact that what I'm talking about right now. I'm literally talking about it. Mike Evans is going to get shut down by Marshawn Lattimore. That means that Chris Godwin's going to be the guy that probably benefits from that. He's going to be the one they should be targeting more. But they both have been disappointing, Godwin and Hopkins, this year so far. I think you can flip a coin. I think I'd rather go with Hopkins at home. I just feel like it's a game that against Cincinnati, I know they're a solid defense and they're good against receivers. I feel like it's I still feel like it's one of those games that if Hopkins doesn't get it right here this coming week, he's never going to get it right. I think it's going to be a really bad bust year for Hopkins if he doesn't get it going against Cincinnati. So I would start Hopkins, I believe. But it's tough though, man. That's tough for sure. In this matchup, you got Kirk Cousins against Carolina. You got Garrett Wilson against KC. Tank Dell against Pittsburgh. You got Waddle against Buffalo. ETN against Atlanta and London. Kenneth Walker against the Giants. Waller against Seattle. DJ Moore against Denver. I think he's going to start him over Montgomery. So he's going against automatic Pickens. He's really top heavy with Tyreek Hill, Chase, and Hurts. He's still rolling with Shaheed. Gus Edwards is going to be back, but against Cleveland, super tough Cleveland defense at home. He hasn't gotten away from Cole Kmet yet. I think in this matchup, I am going to roll with if Eckler plays, automatic Pickens. If Eckler is out, the Criminals. So I'll change it on Sunday depending on what Eckler does. He returned to limited practice this week. If he plays, I like Pickens. If he doesn't, I like the Criminals. That's the deciding factor in this matchup. Last but not least, we got John's team versus Whoopsie. Whoopsie had a huge week last week. Usually that means a team like his, who's 1-2, is going to have some regression. He didn't make any pickups. Obviously, you see Mike Williams on IR, but that's okay. He has Ayuk, and he has Kupp coming back next week. So that's a wash. He went with a lot of depth this year opposed to any big names. I hate Dak Prescott, especially against New England. I think it's possible he can have a decent game and throw it to CeeDee Lamb quite a bit. I think that's going to actually determine whether or not he wins or loses. Last week, he had a huge week, and CeeDee Lamb didn't even do anything. Neither did Prescott. So that tells you that his team could beat you in other ways. Lockett had a big game. Mike Williams had a big game. Mixon had a big game. Ford had a big game. Joku didn't. And I believe Addison had a decent game. So he could beat you in different ways, it looks like. Buffalo's defense had a big game as well. On this side of the ball, Chris Olave is probably due for a touchdown at this point. Sutton's going to have a big game against Chicago. Adams, in theory, should have another big week. Lamar Jackson on the road against Cleveland is brutal. Saquon Barkley should be back this week for him. He's day-to-day. But based on the fact that Lamar is going against Cleveland on the road, I'm going to go with Whoopsie in this matchup. Yeah. Dak Prescott against New England is not as bad. It doesn't look as bad. Now let's get to the pick of the night. I am undefeated in Thursday Night Football. I have not lost yet. I have an overall record of 4-1-1. That means I'm making a pick on Thursday, and I'm making my pick of the week on Sunday. You're going to have to tune in Sunday morning from 10:30 to 12:30 for the pick of the week. That last week I took the Kansas City Chiefs against the Bears. It was an easy win against the spread for a good amount of money. I'm 4-1-1, guys. So if you're following me, you're gonna do well right now. Unless things change drastically, I'm hot and I'm feeling confident. Thursday night I am undefeated. I haven't lost yet. My only pick that the only pick that was a push was the Philadelphia Eagles against Minnesota. I took Philadelphia, and Minnesota backdoored, pushed us. This spread is Packers +2 at home against the Lions. Some lines you're getting at 2.5. It seems like the public is hammering away on the Lions. I am not the only person who thinks that the Lions are a good team last year. Or this year. Last year, they were a dark horse team for me. They are a dark horse team for me this year as well. But it appears, the public is caught up to my thoughts on them, and I am not the only person who believes in them anymore. If the public, as a matter of fact, likes this team a lot, they see the talent finally. I think Gibbs is a big part of that because people love him and his talent. I think that they're starting to notice that Goff and that offensive line are very solid. On the other side of things, Green Bay has been phenomenal on defense all year. They've played against the Bears, Atlanta, and New Orleans, so not necessarily three juggernauts when it comes to the offense. I'd say all three of those teams are bottom half teams as far as offense is concerned. New Orleans obviously has a good defense, and Atlanta looks to have a good defense this year as well. So they've been in three kind of low-scoring games outside of the Bears game. But the thing is, guys, the sharp play tonight is the Packers at home. +2. Anytime there's a home team with a good defense like that, that's essentially 2.5 to -1. plus 2.5 to -1. Anywhere in that area, the home team's a sharp play. It typically means that on paper, the road team is the better team, and the public likes them, but it's closer than people think, because that home team with the good defense is very tough to beat. And in those spots is essentially a coin flip, and you want to take the home team in a coin flip. Especially betting against the public is usually the way to go. Vegas hasn't gotten big and bigger and bigger and bigger because they lose. With all that being said, my pick of the night is the Detroit Lions -2. I think that the Detroit Lions are going to wake up Las Vegas. They're going to wake up the NFL world and just show that the Packers are not a good team this year, guys. They have a very good defense, but I do not believe in Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is way overrated right now. And when I say way overrated, I'm saying that based on the results that you've seen so far. He beat a shitty Chicago Bears team. Impressive, but he didn't do a lot statistically. He threw that two balls to Aaron Jones for long touchdowns passing the ball. But outside of that, like, he didn't do much passing. The Bears couldn't get any pressure on the Packers, who are banged up at offensive line this week against the Lions. I think that you're going to see a Detroit Lions team that shows a different class of football against the Packers this week. It's a division game. It matters. I think that the Lions, they played really well against Aaron Rodgers last year. I think they'll play even better against Love. Love did not look good against the Atlanta Falcons last week at all. Derek Carr got hurt in that game. Jameis Winston came in and they played a little bit more defensive, meaning like they weren't trying to take risk. They were just trying to like play it safe and try to hold on essentially. And, that didn't work out in their favor. Jordan Love made a couple good drives finally after being horrible all game, missing throws all game. I think Christian Watson coming back is going to help Jordan Love a little bit and make him possibly look a little bit better offensively. But I just saw him miss way too many throws. I think that one thing that caught me by surprise last week is his rushing ability. He rushed in that touchdown, the game-winning touchdown. He took off earlier in that drive, or the drive prior to that, where he rushed for 20, 30-yard rush. That I was surprised. I didn't think that he had that in him. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Pat Mahomes' speed that you don't really see until you see it, because they're typically trying to throw the ball. So that's a part of Jordan Love's game that did surprise me. If he has more of that in him, then it's possible I could be wrong on my analysis of him as a quarterback. But as is, I believe that the Detroit Lions are going to really get after him. The Green Bay Packers offensive line is banged up. I don't think that they're going to be able to run the ball effectively. And I think the Lions are going to – I think they're the type of offense that they can score on anybody. It doesn't matter how good the defense is. We didn't really get a chance to see them go against a Kansas City defense with Chris Jones, but they did well against Kansas City's defense. They have a ton of talent. They're getting Montgomery back tonight, so they'll have Gibbs and him running the ball. It's a matter of time before they get Jamison Williams back week 7. But as is, I just believe that offensive line is elite, guys, and Detroit can score on anybody. It doesn't matter how good their defense is. I think that this game could be low scoring. If anything, I would take the under. But I think Detroit's going to be in control, right? Like, if anything, Green Bay's going to have to make a comeback. And that's good news for Detroit. As I said originally, it's a very sharp play for the Packers. Vegas is going to need Green Bay, and most sharp bettors are going to come in on Green Bay. They're going to try to get them at +3. I don't think it's going to get that far, though. And Green Bay is the sharp play, and I'll emphasize. I can't emphasize that enough. The money that's gonna pour in is gonna be on Detroit Lions, but sharp money doesn't always win, guys. Sometimes it doesn't. So I don't mind going with the public sometimes, and I think Detroit Lions is the better team. I think they're a playoff team. I just think that they're going to move on to 3-1 and take control of this division. They're the best team in the division, and it's not debatable to me. That will do it for today, though, guys. I'll keep this episode short and sweet. I'm gonna order some dinner, and we talked about the matchups in the diamond. Not getting a whole lot of questions today on start and sits, and that's okay. We'll be back live at 10:30 Sunday with Kyle, who I'm facing, the Physics Dream Team. We'll get into like how the league started, what his name, why his name is what it is, how long I've known him, the matchup between us two, which is a coin flip essentially. A 2-1 Physics Dream Team against 3-0 Fantasy Football Aces. It's going to be a fun Sunday. Neither one of us have anybody playing tonight. Neither one of us have a Lion or a Packer. I have Jamison Williams, who I'm looking forward to deploying in Week 7, but until then, I don't have any Lion. I would love to have a piece of that offense, which I will have in Week 7. That'll do it, guys. Have a good rest of the night. Enjoy the football tonight. Detroit Lions, that's the pick. Detroit Lions -2 is the pick tonight, guys. Peace.